What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back once again, and we are going to be discussing some more Mandalorian. Now, the Mandalorian came out earlier today, due to Star Wars Rise of Skywalker coming out on Friday, so I guess they wanted to go ahead and get this episode out of the way. The last one's going to be premiering on the 27th, but this episode, oh man, I don't even know where to begin. There's so much to talk about, but let's go ahead and just get right into it. It leaves off right where it did, where the Mando's in his ship, and he's seeing the transmission of the head of the guild. He's looking at it, he fixes it, and he informs him that ever since he left, the Empire took over. Whatever's left of the Empire took over. The client's still there. He is under Imperial rule. If he comes back, kills the client, he'll be with the guild again. Everything on him will be cleared, as well as also the child can stay with him. So he's thinking, okay. He goes to the planet where he met Cara Dune, and he sees Cara Dune having some kind of a match with another creature in a bar for credits. She wins, and he says, "Would you like another job?" And they start talking, and he basically tells her what the plan is, and she tells him she does not want to do it due to with her being a shock trooper, as well as she goes anywhere, she'll basically have a death sentence on her head, and she will be killed or worse. And he basically tells her it is under. She says, "I got nothing to do with a crime lord," and he says, "It's not a crime lord. It's a ex empire." And she says, "Okay, then I'm in." And as soon as that happens, they go onto the ship. So he's recruiting, so that way he has somebody near him he trusts. And as soon as they are going back to the planet, you see where he's telling her, "Okay, this is what we got to do." She says, "Well, what's the plan?" They start going through everything, and she tells him, "Okay, we gotta figure out something as soon as that happens." And she starts going through his gun case because he tells her to pick one. You see little Yoda, he gets into the cockpit, and basically he messes with all the controls, and the ship is going all crazy. He finally gets up there, hands her baby Yoda, gets the ship to calm down, and she says, "Okay, we need somebody to watch this thing." And he says, "Okay, I got somebody in mind." And then she says, "Someone you trust." So as soon as that happens, he goes right to the planet where he first found the child, with this old man who is by the name of Quill, who does tell him his name later on. And he starts to explain to him what they need to do. He says that he's not fully sure. Well, him and Carr kind of go back at it, back and forth a little bit, with her being a shock drop trooper with the Rebel Alliance. And then also he tells her that he was unfortunately slaved to the Empire, bought his freedom. So they have a little bit of an argument right there, and he tells he doesn't want to do it. And he says, "Well, I'll pay you handsomely." He says, "It's not about that." And as soon as that happens, the droid that was used to kill the baby comes in, and they just point the blasters, and he says, "No, no, no, drop it, drop it." And he basically tells him that he reprogrammed him because he found him through all the chaos that the Mando left when he first got the child. And he explains to him that he reprogrammed him from basically the ground up, basically like how to walk, how to carry something, how to do drinks, how to basically do everything all over again. He's not programmed to kill, but he is programmed to protect. So he tells him, "Okay," he says, "but I don't want that droid nowhere near him." And he says, "Well, do you trust me?" He says, "I trust your work." And he says, "Well, then please trust my word." And then he just says, "All right, I'll come with you." And he'll bring the droid. He says, "What?" He says, "I have spoken." And as soon as that happens, you basically see on the ship the Drell. You see Quill, and then and of course he tells him his name, that he gets kept on calling him by his species. And he says, "No, my name is Quill." He says, "Okay." And he sits down, and he basically fed his pets. And then you see Mando and Carr, they're having an arm wrestling contest. And she says, "Give up, Mando." And he says, "How about you want to raise the stakes a little bit?" And baby Yoda is watching them. And as soon as that happens, he's trying, and it looks like to baby Yoda that he thinks Mando is in danger. And as soon as that happens, guys, this is weird. He did force choke on Cara Dune, and that is what was incredible. She just like is like, he's like, what, he's like looking around. He says, "No, no, 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 no." He says, "Cara's my friend. She's not, and no, she's my friend." And he had to pick him up and kind of shake him to stop. And as soon as he stopped, she says, "What the heck was that?" And then they're all trying to figure out. And then Quill goes, "Okay, I've heard about this through rumors." And he says, "Well, what do you think it is?" He says, "I'm not sure." But as soon as they land on the planet, they basically have a standoff with the head of the guild. He has a few guards with him, and he basically says, I see you brought a drop trooper, and then he says maybe she should stay by the ship because all the jaw was, and is out in the middle of nowhere where they had the meeting, and he tells him, no, she's coming with me. He says, well, let me see the child. He sees the child. He says, so this is what all the fuss has been about. He says, what an interesting creature. And he puts down the child, and he looks at him. He says, okay. He says, well, this is what's going to happen. And he tells him, he goes, well, they're all coming with me. And as soon as that happens, he basically tells Quill that the droid is not leaving that ship. And they start walking, and then they make camp further into the inlands. And he says to the head of the guild, he goes, okay, tell me the plan again. But what the plan is, they go in there, try to have a talk with the client, and then the Mando kills him. He says, well, how many guards? He says, 4. He says, okay. He says, what about when I kill them? Are they going to scatter, or what are they going to do? He says, well, they're getting paid, so they're going to scatter. He says, well, I don't really believe that. He says, there's got to be something to where they're going to want to stick around. He says, well, just trust me. As soon as that happens, a creature starts flying around, basically attacking for food. As soon as that happens, everybody's waving the blasters around, trying to kill it. Kills one of the head guild's men, and then he attacks the guild member, and he basically poisons the guild member with the arm. Everyone's fine, and she says, no, he's not. And then they start going into trying to find a way to save him, to get a med pack. She says, okay, give me a second. She says, anybody else got a med pack? She says, otherwise he will die. And Baby Yoda's just looking, and he goes over to him and he touches him. He says, oh man, he's going to eat me, because before then they were eating, and then Quill was giving him some type of food. He says, okay, so he is a meat eater. He says, wow, that's crazy. And Baby Yoda just touches him on his arm and heals him. But he does flop after he heals him, so he basically used force healing to heal him. So he is extremely powerful, and they just look, and the next morning they're walking, and they get close to the city, and right when you see the 2 men that are left, they're about ready to shoot Cara as well as Mando, and the head of the guild turns around and he shoots them, and he says, well, let me explain. He says the plan was, he says, to kill you both. He says, kill you. He says, then take the kid. He says, but after last night, I can't go through with it, because the child saved his life. So of course he had to change of heart, and he tells them that this is what needs to happen. So they argue back and forth. Okay, this needs to happen, this needs to happen. And Carl's like, we should just kill him and get out of here. He says, if you kill me, he says, the deal's going to be off the table. He says, and people are still going to be after you. And he says, well, I don't. And basically Quill goes, well, maybe we should hear him out. So basically Mando states, okay, take me in, state we have the child. Quill, you take the child back to the ship, stay there, nothing's going to get in there. Hold the transmission, nothing's going to be able to get in there. And he looks at Cara, he says, act like you took me in. And Cara's like, well, I'm going. And they start arguing. She says, no, I'm going. He says, well, you need to cover your tattoo. So she covers it to make sure that no one sees that she is a former drop trooper. And we also get to see where they start walking into town. And as soon as that happens, it is clearly over Imperial rule. And you see some speeder bikes with speeder troopers. And as soon as they look, they're like, okay, well, what's the code? He says, well, I got something for your boss. He says, well, what's the code first? And as soon as that happens, he gives it to him, and he says, well, I'll give you 20 credits for the helmet. And he just looks at him, he says, 20 credits? He says, that's going on my mantle. And he says, your mantle? He says, just run with it. So they go in, and then you see Cara says, I thought you said there was only a few. She says, pretty much an army in this town now. And he says, well, he says, you only have to worry about the ones that's guarding the client. And as soon as that happens, they go in, they see the client, they put the Mando down, and he says, wow, extraordinary armor. And he just looks at him, and he sits down, he says, and he starts explaining to them, why did you do this? You know, the Empire is so amazing. He basically tells him the normal of why people keep going against him, that, you know, it's for peace, it's for trading, it's for leadership, it's for guarding, it's for military purposes. Like, he's trying to basically make the Empire look like amazing, and they're not. And the Mando's just sitting there listening to him, while Cara is standing up listening, as well as also the head of the guild, and there are 4 guards for stormtroopers. Then 2 more come in. She starts looking, and then he just tells him, he says, "Well, I want to see the child." He says, "Well, he's sleeping," and he says, "Well, we'll all try to be quiet." But as soon as that happens, one of the stormtroopers tells him that he has a call. So he says, "Pardon me for being rude." He says, "But I must have sent this call." So he goes over to the transmission, and he just tells him, he says, "Hit me my blaster." So he gets his hands off of the cuffs and he gives him the blaster. Carl goes, "This ain't good. I thought you said there was only supposed to be 4. Now there's more." He says, "Well, you can't help it." And as soon as that happens, you see an unknown character come to the transmission and tells him, "Do you have what I want?" He says, "Yes, the child is asleep." He says, "You might want to rethink that." He says, "Well, what do you mean?" He says, "Apparently," he says, "someone lied to you." As soon as that happens, blaster fire just blows through the entire cantina, blowing through everybody, taking out the client, taking out the stormtroopers, trying to take out everybody else. They dive in cover. As soon as that happens, they just start looking around, getting their blasters ready. They go to the window. Guys, there's death troopers standing right across to the window. There's about 4 or 5 of them, blew up the entire cantina with their blaster fire. Next thing you know, here comes a wave of stormtroopers, just a wave of stormtroopers piling out of a carrier. And she just looks at Mando, then she looks at the head of the guild. She goes, "I thought you said that there was only going to be a few." She says, "Now we got a big army to deal with." And he starts talking to Quill. He says, "Quill, can you hear me?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "You need to get the kid out of here right now." He says, "We're pinned down." As soon as that happens, the scout troopers overhear interference with the comms. They go on their speed bikes and they go towards where Quill is at. And as soon as that happens, you see a TIE fighter go into the distance, go behind the death troopers as well as the stormtroopers, which is now like a militia. And he just goes out of the same one that was on the comms, goes out of the TIE fighter and tells them that you don't know what you're dealing with, that I want my property, I want what is mine. He says, and I'll be getting it very soon, one way or another. And he says, "You think you know what it is? You have no idea." And right when that happens, you see the scout troopers going after Quill. Quill's trying to get to the ship, and right when he gets to the ship, close to the ship, we see the Mando saying, "Quill, Quill, can you read me?" And as soon as that happens, you just see the child on the ground, and then you see the scout trooper pick it up, and then they go. Then you see, unfortunate, of Quill being dead along with his droids. So now Quill is dead, as well as with his ride, and now the child is in the hands of the Empire as right now. So obviously the scout troopers are going to bring him back to this unknown character that is Empire, and now we see Mando, Cara, and the head of the guild pinned down by a militia of stormtroopers. Guys, this episode was absolutely crazy. Now, honestly, I'd love to see. Obviously, they may bring the guild into the next episode, the finale of this season, to actually help with taking over the town back, or the Mandalorians could help again. Don't know. I'd honestly love to see a mix between the Mandalorians as well as the guild help out the Mando, Cara, as well as the head of the guild to get them out of Imperial rule on this city, so that way they can take over the city the way they want. But do not know if the Mandalorians are still there. But either way, this episode was absolutely amazing. Can't wait to see the final episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Let me know what you guys think about the episode in the comments down below. Again, episode 7 is now streaming, so let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll be seeing you guys on the very next video.